Well, they should really call it Mayhem Day, not just May Day, but Mayhem Day.
Yeah.
And it's not even only illegals. I mean, the H-1B visa program, all the issues that Donald Trump and Attorney General Jeff Sessions have been hammering at, the issues that I believe propelled Donald Trump to the White House, are being opposed by people who stand to benefit by enforcing immigration laws. I just wrote an extensive article for the Social Contract, major article, 20 pages, immigration fraud, not just the documents and the fraud schemes, marriage fraud, political asylum fraud, that kind of thing, but the fraud perpetrated on America and Americans by politicians from both parties, pollsters, the mainstream media. I think it'll be an eye-opener. Check out that article and look at how maddening this is. We're a nation of immigrants. We hear it all the time. Well, I've got a tagline for you. We're a nation of immigrants. We're not a nation of trespassers.
Yes. Well, and Michael, I want to expand on this connection just a little bit, because sure. I don't think a lot of people, because they're not told this. This is part of the fraud that's perpetrated on the rest of America, is when you have a large illegal immigration presence, you are undermining the labor market for everyone, because you are flooding a labor market, and where you might have, for simple purposes, 100 jobs, you have 1,000 people competing for those 100 jobs. That's not good for anybody.
No, Harvard economist George Borjas has written many papers, PhD, brilliant economist, has talked about how labor is a commodity. When you flood the market with a commodity, you drive down its value. If you do it with a product, it's called dumping, appropriately enough, and it's a felony. And that's what's happening to labor. Labor is being dumped on the American marketplace of labor. And what has happened? Wages are in decline. Americans are losing their jobs. Working conditions are getting worse because competition for jobs by foreign workers willing to accept far lower wages and worse working conditions are now driving Americans and lawful immigrants out of the job market. This isn't rocket science. And when you have a president who says we need to build a wall to protect us, and I got to mention this also, and we'll get back to the jobs, there was just an article about a guy by the name of Sharafat Ali Khan, very important story. He's prosecuted and pleaded guilty. Pakistani, became a resident of Brazil for smuggling men from the Middle East into the Western Hemisphere through Brazil. What is never talked about is Brazil's tri-border region is home to terror training camps, Hamas, Hezbollah, probably ISIS and Al-Qaeda. At least one of the aliens he smuggled was affiliated with the terror group. And so you look at this and you say, why was he a resident of Brazil? Why was he moving them through Brazil and then up to the Mexican border? I have to surmise he was maybe taking them to the tri-border region for training. That's how serious the threat is. Look at the danger we face with Korea. Don't you think they'd love to get saboteurs and spies into the United States to hurt us? Again, border security is the issue. That's why I wrote a piece for Front Page Magazine. I said border security is national security, and I, in fact, talked about this case. How in the world do you have politicians from either party? Could you imagine this during the Second World War? Yet here we are in the midst of a war on terror that's been going on at least for decades, going back to the attacks of '93 and earlier. We still don't have a secure border. We have millions of people in the country whose identities are unknown and unknowable, whose presence in our country is unknown and unknowable. And if you dare say enforce immigration laws, you are branded by the mainstream media as being what? Anti-immigrant, when in fact we're pro-enforcement.
You and your silly connection with national security. Michael.